Welcome to the Political Ferret Show. New content will be uploaded every Wednesday and Sunday. This video was financed by my Patreons. Thank you for making the change possible. YouTube is full of what-if videos. This is one of that. What if ants could create nuclear weapons? So this is utterly impossible for so many reasons. The most important ones are that it is impossible to create a nuke that small, and the other thing is that, well, ants are not so into physics. But why do I talk about this? Because, well, when Stanley Kubrick created a movie about a nuclear accident that leads to World War III, he tried to do it in a serious fashion. Then he found out that if he did this, he would go crazy. So if you talk about something like that, it makes more sense to go into the ridiculous, because then you can grasp it to some degree instead of being absolutely frozen by sheer terror. So why do I do it on the second thing? Well, if I give you some really big figures and atomic bombs deal with really big figures, you can't deal with them. As an example, the number you see here, 68.1 trillions, is a lot of money, but people do not understand the difference between 600 billions, trillions or millions, because it all sounds so big. So what I do normally there is, when you take such a big number, you divide it by how many people have to pay for that. And this might be 300 millions, for example. So this makes about $2,000 each. For every person would have to pay $2,000 to create the number above. So these numbers are coincidentally the budget of the military in the United States and roughly the amount of people who live in the United States. Since not everybody in the United States does pay taxes, it comes down to around $6,000 that you have to pay for the military each year if you pay taxes, compared to the only $62 you have to pay for NASA. So this is one of the interesting things. When people see the immense money that goes into NASA and the immense money that goes into the military, they say, oh, this must be roughly the same. It is not. There is a factor of 1,000 in between that. So to understand what it means when we talk about different sizes in atomic weapons, it makes sense to create it in a version that we can understand and to scale it down. So we talk about, as I told before, about ants with nuclear weapons. The idea is here, I pretty much took the size of an ant, compared it with the size of a human, and then scaled the nuclear thingies down. I of course wanted to nuke Germany for obvious reasons, but the thing is, there's not one city in Germany that has really an appealing geography, so where you can see the difference. When you, for example, bomb Berlin, it looks always the same. If you drop a big bomb or a small bomb on it, it always looks pretty much the same. So I do the next best thing, and we will take a German neighborhood and bomb there with ant bombs. But what nation do we bomb? Well, we will bomb the United States and San Francisco. Why San Francisco? Yes, I know some people in the comment section will point out good reasons to bomb San Francisco, and I'm gonna enjoy them all, but this is not the reason. The reason is it has an appealing geography. New York came down a second, but San Francisco is just a little bit more appealing to understand sizes. So if we now drop a classical nuclear weapon on that, a little boy, that thing that was thrown to Hiroshima, it looks somehow like this. You blow around one district away. It's not that terrible. It is not that the whole city is completely gone, but a major influence is there. So you see the brown greenish thingy, this is the fireball. This is where everything is completely obliterated, and in the outer frame is the shockwave that will destroy not each and everything, but still a lot. So if we now scale this down to a nuclear weapon wielded by ants, it looks like this. So put your eyes over there, yes, exactly here, and now it comes. So this is the nuclear blast. This is pretty much the gray outlines on the other side. So this is everything that they could bomb away. Well, another anthill, I would suppose. But let's go a little bit up. Let's go to a more or less classic weapon that is used by the Americans and by the British, the W-76. This is a classical intercontinental ballistic weapon head. It's absolutely normal, and there are a lot of them around. So they would blow San Francisco to a large degree away. What does this mean in ant fashions? Yeah, well, you can blow a tree out with no big problems, so it would look more or less like that. But now we go a little bit further into today's weapon things. The Dongfeng, the normal weapon that is used by the Chinese right now, would obliterate San Francisco, and you will feel it into Auckland too. It will demolish a lot of Richmond and beyond that. So these things, they are really terrible, and those things are right now in use, and the Chinese have some of them. And if I mean some, I mean so many that we do not exactly know how many. So what is this in ANTS reasons? Well, it is around 1 or 2 houses that would be gone. And I mean, no comparison is ready if we not talk about the Tsar bomb, the biggest bomb ever exploded by the Russians. So, well, you see it on the picture on the left, San Jose is also pretty much gone if something like this is dropped on San Francisco. So, in ant levels, what does this mean? Well, the better part of the block is gone. So this is the point where I want to remind you that ants are pretty tiny and we are not. So it is quite a thing what we see over there. And the interesting thing is that when people talk about nuclear weapons, they talk about, on the one hand, the Hiroshima bomb that is pretty tiny in comparison, isn't it? And the Tsar bomber that is absolutely overkill. So the interesting thing is that the reality lies in between. So there are voices who say that a nuclear war is absolutely survivable. I would agree, especially if all the sides would target mostly military targets, then humanity and the rest of the world could survive a nuclear war. But just to understand what's going on here, when one anthill has some issues with another anthill and he wants to blow out the other anthill, and he uses a Tsar bomber device, it would obliterate one block of humans just to create the opposing factor. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. And the interesting thing is that people do not fear nuclear war anymore. This is seen as something of the 60s, 70s and 80s, and it is somehow gone from our minds since around the 90s. Since the 90s, people say there will never be a nuclear war. There can very much be one, and it is more likely if nobody fears this thing anymore. That's the interesting thing. Nuclear weapons are weapons of defense. When you make the other side believe that you would use them if they attack you, he will not attack you. This is the idea of nuclear weapons. They are terrible, but they only work if we all understand how terrible they are in the first place. So this concludes the whole video about ants with nuclear weapons. Tell me what you think about that. Should we go more into such silly comparisons, or should this be a one-hit wonder? Tell me what you think about that in the comment section. Like, share and subscribe, and have a wonderful day.